Okay, hello everybody. In this video, we're going to talk about a feature in Photoshop, a really cool feature in Photoshop called Select Subject. And in the previous assignment, the brown bear, and the elk, and the bald eagle, you'll notice that those photographs were they were already modified in Photoshop. I took them into Photoshop and I knocked out the background. And that is something that is very common that people do all the time for catalogs, especially like in catalogs or anything where you want to show a product without its, distracting background. And so I took the bear and brought it in Photoshop. There's various ways that you can do this in Photoshop, but now Photoshop has a really cool feature. They've had it actually for a while, called Select Subject. And it uses artificial intelligence basically to determine what your subject might be. In other words, you have a person standing in front of a background, and it automatically selects that person so that you can erase the background. So that's what I want to talk about, and we're gonna learn this through an actual project that I'm going to have you build, and I'll have all of the assets up on Canvas for you to download. Okay, let me get to sharing my screen here. And let me show you what it is we are going to accomplish. Okay, so in this example here, it's a billboard. Okay, the billboard is for the San Diego Zoo. It says "Danger awaits." I don't know if that's really an appropriate billboard for families in a zoo, but anyway, this is all fictitious, made up. But anyway, we have large typography here in a font that I'm going to have in the assets folder for you to load into font book. And then we have 3 images that are composited into a graphic. And each one of these images comes with a background, and the background has to be eliminated. So that's what this tutorial is basically about, and how to do that in Photoshop. Okay, so let's, we're going to start from scratch, and I will give you the specs on this. So let's get rid of this. Oops. Don't want to do that. Okay. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to launch Photoshop. And we're going to establish the page, the document page, or the canvas is what Photoshop calls it. And we're going to open that blank canvas up. So we're going to go to New File. And this is going to be in inches. So I'll go to inches, and I already have prefigured the size, which is going to be 22 inches wide by 8.5 inches in height. The resolution is going to be for the internet or for a computer, so it's going to be 72 pixels per inch, and everything else you can leave as the default. So once you've plugged that in, we will click Create, and we will have our canvas size. And if you look at the rulers here, you'll see that it is indeed 22 inches by 8.5. I'm going to get this up full screen, so Command 0 gets me up full screen. So we have our blank canvas now. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring in all of the images that we're going to use, the lion, the tiger, and the cobra. So let's do that, and it is in the San Diego Zoo Assets folder, which you will have after you download the zip. And when you open up that folder, you'll see that here is the font that we're going to use. It's called Cinematographer or Cinematographica or something like that. Here's the original cobra photo, the lion photo, and the tiger photo. Okay, and you can see each one of these photos has a background as part of it. Okay, going to grab all three of these by holding down the Shift key. The way you grab several items is hold the Shift key down, click on the first and the last, and you'll select all of them. And then we're going to open these up in Photoshop. Now we could just drop this on the Photoshop icon over here, and that's probably the fastest way to do it. And we can see that each photo is now in Photoshop. Now they're all different sizes because they're all different resolutions. These photos were grabbed from Google Images, just for the sake of this example. And so, you know, we're kind of stuck with whatever resolution they are. Now, if you were doing this for real, you would really be concerned about the resolution of these photos, making sure that these photos had enough resolution to be able to print into a billboard well. Okay, but for us, we're not really too concerned with that. One thing that we have to do, though, is we have to make sure that our main canvas here is in the 8-bit color mode. And that would be under Image Mode, and you want to be 8 bits per channel, okay? Because that's what those photos are in. The lion, tiger, and snake are in 8 bits. And so if we were in 16 bits, the color mode would not match the photos, and then the photos wouldn't turn out that well. So let's make sure that you're in 8-bit channel. Okay, let's start with the tiger. Okay, the tiger is really easy. And so here's the situation. We have this tiger and we want to kind of outline the tiger and eliminate the background. So all we have is the tiger, because if we look at the actual example here, right, the tiger is kind of by itself. So how do we do that? Now, you know, in previously we had in previous versions of Photoshop, we would have had to do an intricate selection with some of the tools in Photoshop, and, you know, kind of literally draw around this image with the pen tool possibly, which could take, you know, time to do. But now all we have to do is go to this tool right here. It's the 4th tool down. If you click and hold, it has the Object Selection Tool, Quick Selection Tool, Magic Wand Tool. I guess any of these tools can work. I usually go to the Magic Wand Tool. And once you do that, up here in this contextual menu, you will see it says Select Subject. And so what Photoshop is going to do is it's going to kind of assume what the subject is that you want to select. And obviously it's the tiger. We know that, but how does Photoshop know that? Well, it's kind of artificial intelligence working. I'm not sure how that works. But anyway, if you click Select Subject, you will see that Photoshop just made that selection around the tiger. I mean, isn't that cool? It just knows that that's what you want. Now, it doesn't, a lot of times, depending on what the selection is, it might not get every little detail. So you might have to go in and make some adjustments. Now, if you do that, you'll go to select and mask, okay? And this shows you what Photoshop has selected. And for the most part, it did a pretty darn good job. But these are some tools over here that you can use to kind of refine that selection. So you can do shift the edge of the selection. And let me just kind of do some of these things just so that you can see. Okay, watch what happens to the edge of the selection when I move it this way or this way. You can see it kind of shrink and grow. The edge of the selection is kind of shrinking in. So if you have a little bit of background peeking out, if you shift the selection this way, it kind of pinches in on the subject. You can feather the selection. So if I move the feather, it blurs this selection. You can see it's now kind of blurry around here. And a lot of times you might want to blur the outer selection. You can see when you blur it a lot, that's what happens. You can do, a radius where you pull the radius, and that kind of also, you can see down here what happens when I push the radius this way. Okay, it kind of, again, shrinks that radius, that selection, the edge. And, so these are designed to kind of refine things. In this case, we don't really have to do too much to this tiger. I'm going to feather this selection just a hair. Okay, maybe just, let me move this out of the way here. Maybe just, 2 pixels or so, just to give a little softness to this edge. And then I'm going to click OK, and that's going to kick me back into the main interface of Photoshop. Now there's what we need to do. The select and mask only shows you what you're going to get. You have to now eliminate the background here in Photoshop, and we can do that by either creating a layer mask, or we can inverse this selection. Right now what's selected is the tiger, but if I did the inverse of this selection and selected just the background, then we can eliminate the background. So let's do that. I'm going to come up to select and inverse, which is Shift Command I as the shortcut key, but I'll just use this. And you can see now that the marching ants go around the outer perimeter and around the tiger itself. And that means that what's being selected is everything but the tiger. Now when I hit my delete key on my keyboard, first of all, I have to turn this into a editable layer, a fully editable layer. Right now it's partially editable because it's got a lock here. So I'll just double click on this. I'll click OK, turn it into a actual layer. I can name this layer Tiger if I wanted, but I'm just going to delete the background. So I'll hit delete on my main keyboard, and now the background is deleted. Okay, so you understand that, right? An inverse selection means that you're selecting everything but the tiger. Okay, I'll deselect the marching ants by doing Command D for deselect. And you can see that soft little, kind of outline. This looks really nice, we're going to drop a shadow on this once we get into the composite. Once we bring this into the composite, we'll put a little tiny drop shadow on this, and it'll be nice. Okay, now let's crop this up a little bit. So I'm going to get my cropping tool, and once I click on my cropping tool, you'll see the cropping parameters here. I'm just going to pull this in and tidy this up a little bit. Okay, I like nice little tidy boxes here, and I'll hit return. Okay. And that's done. Okay, so I'll leave that for now here, and I'll bring this into our main composite in a sec. But let's just leave that there. And then let's go to the Cobra. Okay, so here's our Cobra. And again, I'm going to go up to my magic wand tool, and I'm going to select subject. Okay, now Photoshop is going to kind of analyze what it thinks I want to select. So here I go, and sure enough, look at that. It selected just the snake, okay? The entire other, all the rest of the background is was not selected. I'll go to select and mask, and I'll take a look and see. Now here's, if you look at the edge here, you can see a little bit of black around here, and this is where you might want to do a little edge shifting. Okay, I'm going to pull that in a little bit, and I don't know if you could see this black line right here, but by pulling this in, it kind of eliminates that a little bit. Okay, it kind of shrinks that edge in. And then I might feather this again, making that edge a little bit soft. You can see how that works right there, how soft it is. Okay, maybe about 2 pixels or so. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to do the inverse selection again. So I will do Command-Shift-I, and I'm selecting now everything but the snake, and then I'll hit delete on my keyboard, and then I will deselect the marching ants, Command-D. Okay, so now I have my snake, and I'll get my crop tool out and crop this down a little bit. Okay, and that's looking good. Hit return, and that's done. Now let's go to the lion. Now this one is going to be, we're going to have to do a little bit of, kind of manipulation here. This is a very small image, and, the smaller the image, when you blow it up, the more resolution that you lose. If I blew this up full screen, you'll see that this is kind of, the resolution is kind of, I did Command-0. The resolution is kind of getting a little pixelated here. You can kind of see what's going on here. But let's just open this up big. Now, whenever you have hair in a selection, it's very difficult for Photoshop. I mean, getting hair, there's a lot of tutorials on how to do this, more accurately. But for now, we're just going to use Select Subject. So again, I'm going to go to my magic wand tool. I'm going to do Select Subject. And it did the best it could to kind of figure out what you want. And this is where we're going to go up to Select Mask. And you can see now what's happening around the edges here. It's kind of dark and black. And even though it kind of selected it, it's still kind of, this really needs more work. And we would put that time into it, if we were doing this for real. But for now, here's where I'm going to take the shift edge, and I'm going to pull that all the way to the edge. Now notice you could see this more of what's happening. Look at the edge here, and as I go all the way over, you can see how it shrunk that edge in. It's kind of collapsing it. I'm going to take the feather, and I'm going to feather this quite a bit. Okay, I'm going to go up to like, almost 6 or so. Okay, something like that. And even take the radius in. Okay, I might take the radius in, maybe not that much. But anyway, something like that. Okay, just so that I don't see black around the edges here. Might feather this even more. Okay. So we'll call that good enough. Okay. And then I'm going to click OK. And you can see how the selection really came inside. Okay. Because I'm trying to eliminate all of this black, but I'm feathering it enough where we still should see some hair, some natural hair. So again, I'm going to get on the magic wand tool. I'm going to do, do Command-Shift-I to inverse the selection and then hit delete. I have to change this to an editable layer. And I will do that. Double click that and hit the, okay. And then do Command-D, and that's kind of where I'm at right there. Okay, and this will be good enough for if you want to know, a much more accurate way to do this. First of all, we would need maybe a higher resolution photo to start with, but there are some really good tutorials on YouTube on how to outline and do a knockout selection of hair. And I can direct you to that later. Okay, so we have this. We're going to call this good enough. And I'm going to get my crop tool, and I'm going to kind of crop in on this because we don't need all this space here. Bring this up a little bit. Okay, hit my return key, and we'll say that's good enough for the lion. So we have the lion, we have the snake, and we have the tiger. Okay, so now we're going to bring these images into our main composite. Okay, and right now our main composite, which is the first file that we opened, we didn't name, we didn't save it as anything. So let's save this as, well, let's just save it as, save it on the computer. I'm just going to save it to the desktop, and I'm just going to call this Billboard. Okay, Billboard PSD. Photoshop file, and I'm going to save it. Now I want to save it as a Photoshop file because I want to preserve the layers once we create the layers. I want to save it as a layered Photoshop file in case you have to go back in and do any kind of modifications or changes. Okay, you always want to save a Photoshop file. You only export JPEGs, PNGs, PDFs to send to people or to upload and like that. But the main file, the Photoshop file, the PSD file, is what you want to always save for yourself. See up here it says billboard.psd. Okay, so the way we're going to bring these images in is we are going to select the image. Now what we can do is do a Command A, and that selects the entire photo. And then we're going to do Command C to copy, Command C. And then we're going to come over to our billboard and we're going to do Command V as in Victor, and we're going to paste it. Okay, and you can see how it pasted that image as a layer above our white background layer, which is our billboard. Okay, if I click on the lion or the tiger, I can move the tiger around. For now, I'm not going to worry about its size because we're going to change the size of this. We're going to have to, change the size of all of these things. But let's go to the cobra and let's do the same thing. Command A to select all. Notice the marching ants are all around this. Command C to copy it. We'll go back to our billboard and we'll do Command V and we'll paste that in. Now this photo is pretty big, so we are going to need to make this smaller. Okay, much smaller. Let's do that now. We're going to transform that. Whenever you want to enlarge or reduce something in Photoshop, you have to do Command T or transform. Now transform is also up here in the edit menu. If you go down to edit, you will see transform here or free transform, Command T. Okay, I just use the shortcut key. And when you do Command T, you get the bounding boxes around. And in Photoshop, you don't have to hold down the Command and Shift key like you do in InDesign. You just click a corner and just start dragging it smaller. Okay, so I'll just kind of drag that smaller. And I'll just put that over here for now. Then you hit your return key and get rid of the bounding boxes. Notice how it's in layer 2 above layer 1, so the snake is on top of the tiger. We can always make the tiger above the snake, okay, by shifting the layers here, but we'll, right now the tiger is the topmost layer. Should be the topmost layer. We'll do that later. Again, let's go to the lion and we'll do the same thing. Command A to select all, and then Command C to copy. We'll come over to our composite and Command V to paste. Okay. And you can see it came in as layer 3. Now, this is where you might want to name your layers so that you can kind of keep track of what it is. You do see a little thumbnail here, so it is kind of easy to know which layer is what photo. But if you have multiple layers and they're little tiny things that you can't see in the thumbnail, that's when you'd want to really start labeling your layers. Okay, so what is in our composite? Let's go back to our composite here and see what that looks like. Here it is here. Okay, so we have the lion in the very far back, and the lion is looking to the left. Notice how this lion is looking to the right. Okay, so we're going to have to flip that horizontally. I'll show you how to do that. Then we have the snake in the middle, and then the tiger is in the front. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to take the lion, and here's the lion, and we know the lion is going to go way in the back, so I'm going to drop this to the back. Okay, and then we know that the snake, or the cobra, or let's say the tiger, is going to be on the top layer. Okay, so the tiger is in front, the snake is in the middle, and the lion is in the back there. Okay, now let's get these sizes right. So, we'll look at the reference here. We got a big lion's head. I'm going to leave this out so that we can reference this. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to click on the lion, and let's flip this lion horizontally. Okay, here's the lion. It's selected when I click on it. I'm going to go up here to Edit and Transform. And you're going to see way down here it says Flip Horizontal. And when I do that, it flips it horizontally. Okay, so now the lion's looking into the page. And that's usually what you want. When you're dealing with, things looking at you, you don't want people looking outside of the frame. You want people looking inside of the frame. So if this lion was over here, you'd want it looking into the center. If it's over here, you'd want it looking into the center. So just think about that too when you're dealing with people. Okay, with the lion selected, now I'm going to do Command T and transform this. And all I'm going to do is just grab a corner and just start dragging up. Okay, and get this guy up kind of big. For now, I'm just going to sit him right there. Okay, I'm going to move the snake over. This tiger is too big, so I'll click on the tiger, do Command T, and I'll make this tiger a little bit smaller. Okay, and sit the tiger like right in there. Again, let's look at the reference of this. You can see a little bit of the snake's body coming out here underneath the chin of the tiger. Chin of the lion, like that. So let's kind of move this over here like that. I think the tiger is still too big, so Command T, and we'll kind of start reducing the tiger there, something like that. Maybe bring the snake down a little bit and over. Okay, I want to see what kind of spacing is right there. Okay, it looks pretty tight. So the snake and the lion are pretty close together, and the tiger's head is on top. So let's kind of do something like that. Snake and the lion is there, and then the tiger's head is about there, something like that. Okay, and the lion kind of comes up like that. I think everything is a little too big right now. Well, actually, that's not too bad. Okay, so we'll just kind of move that over in there. All right, Now you notice how I'm moving things. I'm clicking on it and it automatically selects the layer, and I can move this around. I think the lion's head is a little too big, so I'm going to Command T that and reduce him down a little bit, something like that. Hit return. Okay. Now, if I wanted to move all three of these at the same time, I would select all three layers, select the first one, hold the Shift key down, and select the last one, and it selects everything in between. And now, with all these three layers selected, I can click and move these all at once. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of stick it there. How far away is it to the edge here? It's about that far away. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Just kind of move that in. Okay, now let's set the text. All right, and I'm going to click on the first layer, and I'm going to grab the text tool, and I am going to just click once. And this is the difference, you know, in Photoshop you can draw a text box just like in InDesign, or you can just click once and just type one single word or one line. You don't have to draw a text box. So when I clicked, you notice how it just gave me a word, you know, some Latin words, just so I can see what size it is and that there's something there. And so I'm going to type in, it already defaulted to my typeface, but if it didn't, if your typeface is something else, then just go to Cinematographica, something like that. Anyway, and I want to type in all caps, danger awaits. Okay. And because that's the main word up here. And then I'm going to grab my selection tool, and I'm going to, you know, you see how it made a text layer here? Once I grab the text tool and I click that one time, it automatically makes a text layer for me. Now, I'm going to bring this up and enlarge it, just like I enlarged an image by clicking selecting Command T to transform. And I'm going to grab the corner and bring it, enlarge it up. Okay. Now you notice when I grab a corner, how this corner stays where it is and it enlarges from the right up. Okay. If you want to enlarge this from the center, then you can hold the Option key down and grab this and watch how it enlarges. See how it enlarges from the center? Okay, from that center point there, it enlarges up. Otherwise, without the Option key held down, it will enlarge this way, okay, or enlarge this way. Okay, just something to know. Like if you center this and you want to just blow it up, you can blow it right up from the center. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hold the Option key down and just kind of blow this up from the center. Okay, and then I'm going to just kind of position that about there. I'm just eyeballing this right now. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then underneath that, we're going to have a subline that says, danger awaits at the San Diego Zoo. So because this is the same typeface and everything, this is going to be in the same typeface at the San Diego Zoo. It's going to be in gray, but it's going to be smaller. I'm just going to duplicate this by holding the Option key down. Okay, notice, see how the cursor turns into a double arrowhead, and I'm going to click and just drag down. Okay, just drag a copy down. Danger awaits. And I'm going to make this smaller, so I'll grab my selection tool and I will hit Command T. And this is where now I want to reduce the size from the center. So I'll hold the Option key down and I'll just kind of reduce the size of this from the center until it looks like about the size I want. I'll hit return. I don't know if that's the exact size because I have to change the word out now. And I have to say at the San Diego Zoo. Okay. Now I want to look at what size this is. Okay, it starts around the N here and it ends around the A here. So that gives me, an idea of what size it is. So it starts around the N and ends around the A. This is a little bit too big, so I will do Command T and reduce this down about that much right there. Okay, so that looks about the relationship. Okay, I'll hit return and I'll move this up and kind of tuck it right in there. And now one thing I'm going to do is make sure that the word at the San Diego Zoo, oops, if you ever grab the text tool and try and highlight something and you make another text box, and you see that Photoshop made you another text box that you don't need, just trash it, okay? Select it and hit the trash can and that text box goes away. Okay, let me click inside here and highlight this. And then I'm going to go up to my colors up here, and the color that I used was this gray over here, this last gray in the grayscale. Okay, so that one there. And then if I hit get on my selection tool, you'll see that there is the text there. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is set the address 2920 Zoo Drive, San Diego, California. And you can do that with, take your text box or your text tool. Okay, I'm going to click once. And this time, let's see, let me move this over here, down. Let me get my text tool and highlight this. And I'm going to use just a regular Helvetica or something. So I'm going to go down to just regular Helvetica and make it smaller. Let me do Command T and hold my Option key down, and I'm just going to grab this and make this smaller and do 2920 what was it? 2920 Zoo Drive, San Diego, California. Okay, so 2920 Zoo Drive, comma, San Diego, comma, CA. Okay. And I'm going to put that right about there. You see that pink vertical line right there? That tells me it's centered with this. If I select the San Diego and move that, I want to center that up against the danger awaits. I want to grab this and center this right there. Okay, so everything is centered. I'm going to look at the size of this Zoo Drive here, and I can see that it's lines up with around the T and around the Z. So I can see that this is way too big. So I'm going to click on that, Command T. I'm going to move this over to around where the T is, and then just kind of reduce this down to where the Z is, around there, and then recenter this. Okay, so I'll put this up right around there. And it looks like this text is in black. Yeah. So I'll take my text tool and I'll click and highlight in here, and I'll make the text color black. And there we have it. Okay, so danger awaits at the San Diego Zoo, Zoo Drive. Do Command 0 to see everything, see my whole composite. Okay, it looks like this text overall is bigger than this text right here. Okay, so here's one thing that I can do. If I want to enlarge everything, I'm going to take all of these text layers, okay, select the first one, hold the Shift key down, select all of them, then do Command T, and I'm selecting all of this, and then hold the Option key down and enlarge from the center, and all three enlarge up. Okay, so something like that. Hit my Return key, and I'm done. Okay, so that's how you would create a billboard, and with three animals that you knocked out the background with, and set some text next to it. Okay, now you have all of these layers and text layers and all of that. We want to save it, Command S. Okay, and that saves to our saves our Photoshop file with layers. And now if we want to export this, or save it out as a PDF or a JPEG or a PNG, we would then go up to File and save a copy. Now, we can call this the same thing if we want, Billboard, but we don't want to save it now as a Photoshop file. We want to save as either a JPEG or a PNG or whatever file format that you want. Okay, so this is how you save out as, if you're uploading to Canvas, you can save as a JPEG or a PNG. There is an export menu box here. If you go to File and instead of Save as a Copy, you have Export, and you can save as a PNG very quickly here if that's what you want it to save as. And then I believe if you save as, you can save as a not sure where the PDF, oh, here it is, a PDF file right there. So you can save as a PDF there. Okay, so that's all you have to do to create this in Photoshop. The main thing of this tutorial is basically how to use the Select Subject tool and how to, select your subject and be able to get some more light in here. Be able to make a composite in Photoshop. Okay, with that, I am going to stop sharing the screen here. It's getting darker tonight. Let me add some more light here in this. There we go. And say that I will see you again in class, and this is the next thing that we're gonna talk about. And then I'm going to give you an assignment to do something with compositing photos. Okay, I'll see you later.